God's calendar code and history. Today, I'd like to share with you additional information about God's calendar and code. To do so, I must first share a calendar record that I developed many years ago on which God's calendar is located. These notebooks on this table contain both the present-day New Style Gregorian calendar and the Old Style Julian calendar, which I have extended far back into the Old Testament period. It is from this extensive calendar record, with the aid of accurate astronomical data of lunar cycles and days, that I am able to produce God's lunar solar calendar for any given year. God introduced his calendar to Israel in 1486 BC, the year of the Exodus. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. This day came ye out in the month Abib, later named Nisan or Nisan. This calendar contained yearly festivals such as Passover, Pentecost, and Feast of Tabernacles. It also contained the weekly seventh-day Sabbath, which was God's special day. The Sabbath was special, for it was on the day on which God rested at the end of the creation week. It was special for he included it in his law, the Ten Commandments, and it was special for often when he appeared to Israel on special occasions or to a prophet in a vision, he did so on the Sabbath day. Evidence of this can be seen in his proclaiming of the law on the Sabbath from the summit of Mount Sinai in 1486 BC on Sivan 7, June 7. Sivan 7, June 7. Pentecost. It is also worthwhile to note that Nisan 1, the New Year's Day of Thursday, April 3, 1486 BC, occurred within 24 hours of the April 4 vernal equinox. Nisan 1. 40 years after the Exodus event, in the year 1446 BC, God parted the waters of the Jordan River so that the Israelites under Joshua's leadership could cross over on the riverbed to Canaan, and that they that bear the ark were come under Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the water, that the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon an heap. And the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firm on dry ground in the midst of Jordan, and all the Israelites passed over on dry ground. And the people came up out of Jordan on the 10th day of the first month and encamped in Gilgal in the east border of Jericho. The calendar record reveals that the Jordan crossing was a significant event for Nisan 10, 1446 BC. The date of the crossing fell on the Sabbath of April 18. And Nisan 1, April 9, occurred on a Thursday, just as happened in the Exodus year. In the 480th year after the Exodus, in the year 1006 BC, and another Thursday Nisan 1 year, in the 1000th year prior to 6 BC, the year of Jesus' conception by the Holy Spirit, the Israelites began construction of the temple. And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph, often called Yair, which is the second month, that he began to build the house of the Lord. And he began to build in the second day of the second month, in the 4th year of his reign. The calendar record reveals that the first day of the second month, Yair 1, May 5, in 1006 BC, occurred on the Sabbath, And on the following day, exactly as the above passage indicates, the workmen began laying the foundation stones of the temple. At the beginning, the Israelites found it to be a joyous occasion to gather at the temple to worship the Lord. However, as time passed, their descendants began more and more to ignore temple activities until Hezekiah became king and ordered the Israelites to restore and cleanse the temple for a special worship service. Hezekiah began to reign when he was 25 years old. He, in the first year of his reign, in the first month, opened the doors of the house of the Lord and repaired them. Now they began on the first day of the first month to sanctify, and on the 8th day of the month came they to the porch of the Lord. So they sanctified the house of the Lord in 8 days. And in the 16th day of the first month, they made an end. Then they went in to Hezekiah the king and said, "We have cleansed all the house of the Lord." Then Hezekiah the king rose early and gathered the rulers of the city and went up to the house of the Lord. And all the congregation worshipped, and the singers sang, and the trumpeters sounded. And all this continued until the burnt offering was finished. And when they had made an end of offering, the king and all that were present with him bowed themselves and worshipped. As this passage indicates, the workers finished the task on Nisan 16 and notified King Hezekiah of its completion. Nisan 16. Early the following morning, Nisan 17, the king and the city rulers rose early to attend the temple worship service. Unbeknown to them, the date of the service, Nisan 17, was very special, for it was also on Nisan 17, many centuries later, that Jesus' resurrection occurred. In the 5th year of Jehoiakim, 593 BC, the Lord appeared in a vision to the prophet Ezekiel. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Kibar, that the heavens were open, and I saw visions of God. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's captivity. This Tammuz 5 vision of Ezekiel's was also related to a 20th century event, World War I. For in June 28, 1914, Gavrilo Princip, an assassin, shot and killed Franz Ferdinand, which triggered the outbreak of that large war. The fact that these two events, though separated by a span of over 2,500 years, occurred on the same date, Tammuz 5, is additional evidence of God's involvement in our world's affairs. In 536 BC, the 3rd year of King Cyrus, the prophet Daniel received a vision. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel. And in the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was by the side of the great river Hiddekel, then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. And the voice of his words were like the voice of a multitude. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. Daniel's vision of Saturday, Nisan 24, April 21, 536 BC, occurred in a Thursday, Nisan 1 year. Five centuries later, the greatest event in history occurred. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, came to earth to sacrifice his life for our salvation, so that we may live with him in a future life forever. When he came to earth from his heavenly realm, he did so within his calendar code. For 5 BC, the year of his birth, and AD 30, the year of his crucifixion and resurrection, began with Thursday, Nisan 1, New Year's Day years, similar to several significant earlier happenings, such as the Exodus and other events. Also because Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection were the singular culminating events of his life, the year AD 30, in addition to having the Thursday pattern, contained also the equinox moon pattern, in which the new moon for Nisan 1, the New Year's Day, occurred within 24 hours of the vernal equinox. Thus, this continuation of the calendar code from the Old Testament through the life of Jesus Christ and in the New Testament period to our day indicate that the calendar code is unending. We can observe this by means of the equinox moon pattern. For an AD 622, the year of the Hejira, a significant year in history, the new moon for Nisan 1 occurred within 24 hours of the vernal equinox, just as happened in AD 30, the year of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. In another significant year, 1776, the year of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence of the United States, two special happenings in God's calendar occurred relating that year to AD 30, the year of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. One, the new moon for Nisan 1 occurred within 24 hours of the vernal equinox. And two, Nisan 1 occurred on a Thursday, just as happened in AD 30. Many years later, in the year 1939, the year in which World War II began, another significant year in history, the new moon for Nisan 1 occurred within 24 hours of the vernal equinox, just as happened in past significant years. These years of past significant events that have occurred within God's calendar code were not accidents in history, but evidence of God's continued involvement in our world's affairs. Thank you for watching.